This week on MS Refresh, a deep dive into supposedly what was due in December, even though the vast majority of those items are still listed as in development as opposed to launched or rolling out. Plus, let's take a quick look at the updated Office Hub in action. Subscribe to stay in the know. This is the MS Refresh Show. Hi there, and welcome to the Matt and Sean 365 Refresh Show. This is episode 50 for the work week of January 22nd, 2022. Coming to you from the East Coast, my name is Matt Wade.
And as always from the West Coast, I'm Sean Bugler. 50.
Hello, Sean.
50 episodes.
All I could think of was that character that Molly Shannon had. I think it was Molly Shannon on SNL.
I'm
50. That was perfect timing. We did not even plan that. We couldn't have.
No, that's wow. Yeah, 50 episodes.
Yeah.
I think this is more a testament to your ability to harangue me to stick with something for more than a fleeting moment. Because I'm a very non-committal person. Like, I don't typically stick with things for very long.
Says the guy who's engaged.
Yeah, but that took 6 years.
Like, I'm running on 7 right now, so you know.
But yeah, no, it first of all, thank you to all of you who tune in live and watch this after it's live. To watch it, I promise would probably still do this in a complete vacuum.
Just to hear ourselves talk.
But it means a lot that you're here too. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how much has changed and how much has not as we have done this show. Like the format has by and large, I mean, we've obviously kind of structured it a little bit more so when we first started.
Yep.
But no, I've been happy with how it's coming. How are you feeling? Do we have 50 more in us? I guess is the real question.
I think so. I think it's a useful way to force me to dive into the roadmap once a week just to check on things, because I find that I don't have the time at work to just do it. You know, I have too much other stuff to do. But when I tell myself, or I know that, you know, this is holding over my head, and you know, on a Monday that I have to spend that couple hours to dive through and find those things, it's useful for me in that respect.
I couldn't agree more. It has been a nice guillotine above my neck as I'm like, you know, it's very easy, and I think this is true of most of our audience. It's really easy when your job is this stuff to just kind of assume you know, that you know enough to get through the day to day.
Totally.
There's just not enough time in the day to do your job and then go off and learn new things. So it's really nice for us to continue to do this for all the people who are just like us.
So long story short is we both see the selfish benefit of doing this.
Oh, there's almost
I think that's our takeaways.
Doubt in my mind. This is a purely selfish endeavor. I enjoy that it helps other people. I genuinely do.
That's icing on the cake right there, you know.
Yeah, that's what we call a bonus.
Yeah, why would we want to help anybody? And helping people is just so overrated.
But no, I'm super excited, and there's some interesting stuff in the news that we'll get into here. And then I think we've got some exciting stuff on the other side of it. You ready to jump in?
I am. Let's jump in right into the news.
Let's do it.
This is the news.
Oh, the afterglow of the holidays has finally faded, but it's never too soon to look back fondly on good times. Here's everything Microsoft supposedly launched last month, according to the Microsoft 365 roadmap. As Matt mentioned, a quick caveat here that many of these items, despite still having a December 2021 release date, which is past, are still marked as in development. So, your grain of salt, if you will. Starting off with Teams. Teams should have seen the following deliverables last month, including end-to-end encryption for Teams one-on-one VoIP calls, push to talk using control space or option space in meetings to come off of mute. Not quite as compelling as just holding the space bar like you can in Zoom, but who am I to judge? A redesigned Teams App Store and new automation templates. And for our government friends, breakout room presenter support is now available in GCC High and GCC DoD, as well as tags of being available in GCC DoD. Jumping into OneDrive and SharePoint, OneDrive should only see a couple of updates, including the sharing experience for managing access, the share menu, and copying share links should all have received a refresh, providing more context and a clearer process to share files and folders. And OneDrive should have picked up the new quick access section of the sidebar, allowing you to pin recently accessed and shared libraries to make it easier to find certain content that you know and love. SharePoint was set to get a little love as well, with auto news digest emails covering news posts that a user hasn't viewed yet. A new page analytics experience with more information and a cleaner design, the navigation switcher options and change the look for SharePoint sites, which should let you change navigation between the quick launch on the left and global navigation up at the top. We should have also seen hub-to-hub site association, more templates from the SharePoint lookbook, including for nonprofits, retail, and healthcare, our heroes, and an updated text formatting toolbar. Lists is back in the news with its own section. Congratulations, Lists. Last month, the service was set to pick up customization, including custom header and footer imagery and additional information. Sticky first column so you can scroll laterally and still have context for what you're looking at. A classic Excel feature finally making its way. We love to see it. Number columns now include common symbols, including currencies. Bonus. And configuring whether a person column displays an individual user's photo or not. You can also create lookup fields, and the modern list UI finally being able to skip the need for the classic old school settings page. It's really, really nice to see them finally starting to retire some of those spaces. Outlook hasn't gotten near the attention it's deserved over the past few episodes, and I'd like to go ahead and start with an apology. Here you go. The following items have been marked as launched or are actively rolling out as we speak. The Share to Teams and Outlook for the web functionality should finally be live. Text prediction on various platforms. Search for files, people, and topic on the Windows version of Outlook. Personal favorite of mine, a number of Microsoft Editor updates on various platforms have finally come to bear, and the notifications pane in Outlook for the web is being aptly renamed Activity. And once again, a few services that just didn't have enough going on to justify a whole section here in our news segment, but still had some interesting tidbits worth calling out. In Microsoft Forms, the polls in Teams powered by Microsoft Forms, TM, should now support word clouds. Microsoft Project, fulfilling a promise made in early 2021, March to be precise, people with Microsoft 365 licenses can now mark their project tasks complete and change the % complete without a project license. How will Microsoft stay in business now? Visio for the web now lets you draw shapes and expand your color palette, and has picked up new org chart shapes for those with a Visio Plan 1 or Plan 2 license. Sorry to all of you who are just finally getting excited about Visio for free. And lastly, if you haven't played with video in a while, you should see a new web player for video and audio stored in SharePoint and OneDrive. That's a result of the new modern stream experience, one of many stream deliverables we continue to anxiously await here in 2022.
That was the news.
There we go.
Hello, hello.
Hey, good work.
Thank you very much. As always, I appreciate. For those of you who don't know, this is a team effort. Matt does all of the kind of corralling of the stuff that's happening in the roadmap, and then I script it and read it off in an eloquent tone, I think.
So the downside there is that the viewfinder being looked at for the items that we typically cover is mine, and then you massage it.
I think it comes out pretty good because you think you have a much more like mono-focused lens, but you tend to view it from a much more what does the average user care about perspective.
Well, you even said like, we're sorry for not covering Outlook stuff. I'm thinking off screen, I'm thinking to myself,
all part of our plan.
How do I decommission Exchange slowly but surely?
It'll happen.
Right.
Or what will probably happen is it'll just stop being called Exchange. It'll be called Microsoft services behind the scenes.
Now it'd be like Microsoft Cambio or something like that.
That's true. It'll be
translated into Spanish and it'll sound sexier anyway.
So Matt, I know that you're gonna talk about the Office Hub in just a minute, but I had a lot of fun asking questions last week, and I wanted to kind of bring that back a little bit. I think that we got some good conversation in the comments after the fact, as well as during the live show. I saw you post something on Twitter, and I wanted to poke the bear here live. I noticed you asked a question about the default org channel. So, in Teams, for those individuals that don't actively use Teams, if you're like me and you're a Slack organization, or maybe you don't use any of these real-time collaboration platforms, in Teams, there's, for all new tenants that are created, and you can always create this if you have an old tenant as well, you can create what's called an org-wide team, which is everybody in the organization, everybody in the company, all on one Microsoft Teams team. So that means a shared general channel, a shared calendar. Matt, what's going on there? What issues are you seeing?
So it wasn't so much just about the org-wide team. It was more using that as an extreme example to show why the actual problem is a problem.
Sure.
So I have a client that uses a team as like a support forum. And in that, because they don't use Yammer, where you could kind of just shout out into the void and hopefully somebody responds. So it's kind of taking a square shaped product and putting it through a square hole, but
sure.
It's useful though. But the downside to a team is that it's overly democratic. And yes, in setting this team up, I have denied the ability for people to start new threads in the general channel because that's for announcements, but people can reply to threads that we start, the owners start. And it's meant to be like a support community, sort of like a Stack Exchange for like internally, right? Sure. But you have this issue where people may mistakenly or just testing create a channel meeting. So when that happens, it turns out, or at least based on the experience so far, you can't deny somebody the right to create a channel meeting in a team unless you set a global policy for the user or across the entire organization. So no channel meetings for that person or for anybody. Like
you have to take a nuclear bomb to an ant is what I'm
right. Well, and it comes down to, at the team level, I should probably be able to not allow channel meetings. And it wouldn't be the biggest deal, except for the fact that once the meeting is scheduled and created, it has a post now in the channel. And it will list whenever somebody's joined. It will list responses as the meeting chat, whatever. And just a lot of people don't know how channel meetings work. Like even a lot of people that are experts in our field still don't know how channel meetings work, or like how there was a change a few years ago that changed whether or not everybody gets an invitation or not. Thankfully, nowadays you don't get one. Because, this group, let's say this team has several thousand people in it. If you create a channel meeting and everybody gets invited, that's like, what is that, right? Like that's like sending the mistaken reply all to everybody. So education is not the solution, right? You can't just teach people and hope they don't do the wrong thing, right?
Sure, you can. Just
no, you cannot.
20,000 person
can't be done
webinar one
Absolutely
time.
Not.
Please don't do this.
No. So the problem here is that once they schedule the meeting and then cancel it, they can't change the description of the meeting that shows up in the chat, which is the starting of a new post, and the administrators can't delete it either. So if somebody, now we can go in and we can say like, delete this record, but it doesn't actually pull it from the UI in Teams. So imagine somebody mistakenly adds a channel to a meeting they're scheduling in Teams, and it's about promotion information about somebody. Or worse.
Sure. Right.
We're going to walk Johnny off the property next Monday kind of thing. You can't get rid of that. Sure. So I kind of tossed it out in the ether today to be like, hey, does anybody have any solution to this? And I've gotten a couple good ones. So Vesa Nopinen and Chris Horde, who are two Teams absolute phenomenal rockstar experts in Teams, had a couple good in the background, try to do this or this responses on LinkedIn, but they were total worker. I mean, not to disparage their comments, they were good ideas. They were the best ideas that somebody put out there. Right. But I will say, to Microsoft's credit, so I think it was Rich Tandon, the VP of Teams Engineering, actually replied to my tweet and was like, "Hey, this is good feedback to one of his employees or to one of his colleagues to say, take a look at that." But it's just one of those things.
Relatively quickly
people,
too.
If you're in an org-wide team though with like 15,000 people, there's no way 15,000 people know not to schedule a meeting in that team. Like, how do you recover from that? It's just, I don't know. I realize that sometimes when I run into things, it's like, boy, everybody else must have the same problem. And like, okay, realistically, that's probably not one where they run into it very often. But in an org-wide team, like, and that should be happening to other people. Yeah.
100%. It's interesting because not to draw apples to oranges here, but in Slack, if you're an admin, you can delete anything.
Yeah.
It's like any UI affect. If an app posts something, if a user posts something, an integration, you can delete it because they're all ultimately messages at the end of the day, and an admin can delete messages. And that feels like an obvious thing that like you can't train 15,000 people, but you can train the 20 arbiters of the team's experience to, hey, if you see this common mistake, delete it, reach out to them behind the scenes, explain what went wrong.
And I think it just kind of exposes itself as being the only thing that can't be deleted. Like, it looks deleted from the back end. It's just that the team's UI doesn't update. Right. Yeah. So like as far as like e-discovery goes, the content doesn't exist, but I can still screenshot it as a regular user. Like,
how does that work? I wonder. Is that like a caching issue, you think?
I don't know. It's like, yeah, okay, well, it's on the Exchange calendar. And like, I think it's just that it's a push, it's not a back and forth. I think it's a one-time, hey, we scheduled this. And the funny thing is, if you don't cancel the meeting, the poster, the scheduler can go in and edit the description in Teams and just delete it.
That's so interesting.
It's the canceling process that makes it untouchable, which is just, I don't know, just crazy to me.
It's always interesting, and I appreciate that you. I think you're better than most in our space, where you'll take this to Teams and you'll make this a conversation that happens in the public sphere. And I think that I know that there are people on engineering teams that may not always love it. They may feel like it's a denigrating process, but honestly, I think that you end up with a better perspective. You end up with people who jump in and say, "This is an issue I'm experiencing too," or in your particular instance, you got a really great cross section.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Community members and the official source, and I think that this really does kind of emphasize something that we talked about last episode, which was, what can I do to stay on top of these things? And genuinely, I do believe that for all the things that Twitter could be doing better, being a part of the Twitter universe is a really great thing to do if you want to stay engaged with and stay abreast of what's happening in the Microsoft 365 universe.
Man, everything went to hell when Jack left. What are you gonna do? What's he doing these days, by the way? Do you like run into him at like coffee shops now? He's just like chilling with his beard or what?
I keep thinking I've run into him, but just everybody in Oakland looks like Jack Dorsey.
Like that was the best response you could have. Yep, definitely.
Well, right on. Well, I appreciate you sharing that insight. I just thought it was an interesting thing, and it was worth drilling into. Now, you wanted to talk about the Office Hub. Do you want to jump into that?
Yeah, sure. Unless you had something you wanted to discuss before.
I think there's some great questions in the comments, but we'll come back to that after the demo here.
All right, sweet. So let me just get rid of the overlay here. We've mentioned this now a number of times in the last few months that the Office Hub, which is the Office 365 homepage, it's also what you see when you open up the Office app on Windows or the Office app or a version of that on your iOS or Android device. But that's finally, the new UI has finally rolled out. So I have it both in my demo tenant, which is what you're looking at right now, and my personal regular tenant that I use.
I had to go check just now because I did not have it on Sunday. I do have it now. I did not have it on Sunday.
Yeah, it's weird.
I was going to rant about it today.
And hey, it may not be out fully because like this tenant, for example, this was a roller coaster. It was like I'd had it for a few days and it was gone. And I mean, we're talking for the last like month and a half. Like it's been very kind of I don't know, iffy basically.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see kind of something similar happened with some of the Power Platform stuff where it was there for a couple of days and then I like refreshed the screen and it all disappeared.
Yeah, definitely. So the old version of this looked somewhat like this, but you'll note the app bar now has a create button and a my content button over on the left side. But the home here is where you're going to see the recent stuff that you've quick access to, recent things that you've looked at. Now, this isn't the best example because it's demo tenant, so the dates on things are not real world or anything like that. But I do have to admit the thing up here to be able to filter and sort, it's almost like you're looking at a SharePoint list of the content that you've been using recently, which I think is kind of handy. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not the favorite is the same thing as if you pin something in the Office apps. I don't think they're the same, and I think that's going to be a mistake if they don't make them the same.
Another paradigm.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing that is really cool is the ability to add another column, or basically call it a view. Unfortunately, you can only filter it by one metric. You can't do like a multiple thing, but you can choose based on type, right? Type of file. You can do it based on where it's stored, who it's shared by, or who it's owned by. So I'm in a demo tenant, so there's not real world work going on in here, so it's not great to show off, but I'll show my real one in a second. But if you click on
off of that, I just say how much I love the ability to create the custom view. I think that that's the coolest thing. Yeah. And I think that that should be part of every UI consideration. Like
totally
these little bubbles, like give me that at the top of OneDrive, give me that at the top of Microsoft Lists. Like that's what I want the view UI to be across Microsoft 365. It's simple, it's intuitive. Yeah. No, I'm such a big fan of what they did with this here.
And you can definitely see the impact of the new Fluent UI here. So these icons are all Fluent. They're not the old ones. Even just the drop downs and all of that kind of stuff is consistent across the home pages for a bunch of the other things or the other apps as well. Actually, Forms is sort of halfway there. I noticed that the new homepage looks like this, but if you go to like the all Forms, it still looks like the old one, which is a lot bigger and blockier. But yeah, let me switch over to my actual tenant. So if you have a real world work going on, it's not just going to be about files and stuff. It's actually going to recommend actions and show you like upcoming meetings and things like that. So on this one, you see some references here to add this thing to do. So based on wording that you use in emails, it will suggest to you that these could be tasks that you might want to add to do, which is nice. And then down here, I had created a couple more views here of files, shared by my peer, different loop components. Again, I would be nice if I could say loop components that were used in the last 25 days or something like that, but I'll take what I can get from the start, which is kind of nice. But yeah, so the homepage, new design, new look and feel. I think it looks nice. The my content is sort of a way to, it actually shows the exact same 4 items here. There's all recent, shared, and favorites, but it also lets you browse by people, meetings, cloud files, and then attachments from actually show you what it looks like on the real one, because for meetings, for example, I'm not sure how it picks these, because these are both from like a while ago. One's from October last year, the other one's February last year, but it gives you a good amount of info here on the meeting itself, any attachments that were included. And then I do kind of like the email attachments listing here. So this is a central listing of all attachments you've received via email. Now, the downside to this is that it really shows you the importance of naming your files something that matters. So these are all invoices for Microsoft 365, and these are all numbers that mean nothing out of context, right? So as you are emailing stuff around with attachments, give them realistic names, file names.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One thing I do wish that had made it into this paradigm was just some way of tapping into the metadata that exists in SharePoint, because that just continues.
I bet that's on the way.
I would hope so. That just continues to be one of those things where, like, to your point, we years ago, when metadata was the hot thing and everybody was like, folders will be a thing of the past.
Right.
We told people, don't worry about deep articulate names for files. Name it something common sense. Let the metadata do the breakdown for you.
Yeah, but even with that, see, I feel like that was misguided even back then. I feel like the file names have to have context with them, because you don't know where you're going to see them. So like if you're looking at a a recent listing in Word of files, yeah, it does list in very small text underneath the file name, like where it comes from. And it's the where that sort of sets that context. But I don't know. I've kind of universally told myself that all file names need to have the context in it so that no matter where I am, it's going to make sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And once I got back into the real world, when I got out of consulting and got back into actually working with people on a day-to-day basis, that became
Because
such an
consultants
obvious.
do not work with people.
I mean, they do, but I think I say we because I still have that in my head, that we operate from a universe of best practices, and it can be really easy to miss the forest for the trees. Not to say that that's true of all of them. But I think that, like the sync tool is a great example of that. Like almost all guidance just completely foregoes the concept that people are going to use the sync tool in File Explorer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's true. Let's see. The other creating. So the ability to create a file or a artifact, whatever you want to call it. This did exist before, and it had like a little, I don't know, second app bar that popped out, I think is what it was, for the different file types. Now it's a very graphical experience. It lists all the different file types that you basically have available to you across all the Office 365 apps. So that could be a page in Sway, it could be a whiteboard, it could be a OneNote notebook. I didn't even know you could create a single page in OneNote, but now the more you know. Creating a list directly from here, Visio, basically everything, except there's nothing here related to Teams, even though you can to Yammer, so that's interesting. And then templates. So they're pushing the different template types. One thing I did notice is that, like, let's say lists, you'd think, oh, there might be a Microsoft list template here. There is not. It only currently shows Excel and Word, so it's not really closing the loop on all the available tools that are out there, but it's definitely an improvement, and I do like it. So yeah,
I too do like it. No, I think that the new Office Hub UI it's clever. It is interesting what got omitted in the create experience. Like you flagged Teams, but like Power BI made it, but Power Automate didn't. Power Apps didn't.
That's true. Yeah, email, even writing an email.
Yeah,
it just thing, I guess.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if this was driven by like analytics, or if this was driven by like the product team playing ball. Is create a new task in there?
It is not, actually, now that you say it. However, everything else related to these file types, if you click on more options, one of the options is always add to do. So you do have create a task. It's just that you're like aligning a task with an object of some sort.
Yeah.
But you can't just create one out of the blue.
And actually, I'm kind of surprised that there was a create PDF option in that context menu, and I have not seen it yet. Have you?
It is right here.
Where is that? You're in my content all.
On a file, and I'm not sure if it's all files or just Word. Nope, it looks like it's probably Office files. So let's see if I can find an Excel file down here. Yeah, there we go. Yep. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint files. If you click the ellipsis next to it, you have a bunch of options here, of course, including open in the. If you just click open, it opens in the browser, I assume. Oh, that's handy. Open file location. That is what I've been waiting for so long, for so many things. But anyway. Convert to PDF, I think.
See, I'm not getting those yet. That's interesting. I must be halfway through.
Yeah, and this is not a special tenant. This is
right. Yeah, this is just
whatever you see is. I'm not in trouble.
It's what they put in the demo tenants.
Yes, exactly. Right. But I do like this though, being able to just share via email, copy link, share via Teams, which is just like this is like, oh great, I have to sign in. But yeah, having all that stuff available right there though is super handy. This is.
Oh, interesting. I found it. So I'm not seeing the create PDF or the create or add to calendar unless it's my file. So if it's a SharePoint file or if it's somebody else has shared it, I can't create a PDF based on that.
Okay, that's interesting. I can, because this file is owned by Alex and I'm Megan.
That's interesting.
Maybe it's still working its way through.
Oh no, now it's showing up. The hell?
Now I have no idea where that file went. I'm assuming it's in wherever the that file lived. Oh yeah, there it is. The same name.
I stand corrected. SharePoint files and my files, but not OneDrive files shared with me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Interesting.
So I think this is one of those things where it, like, if you take 5 minutes to just toy around with it, you'll get to know it really well. But most people aren't going to do that. And it's actually, this is one of those things that, when it's fully rolled out to organizations that I work with, like, I'm going to have to do like a 20-minute lunch and learn on the value of this thing and how useful it can be, because people don't tend to just toy because, I don't know, I would tend to do that. I got work to do, but I noticed that the Office homepage is different. Oh, well, it's different. There's got to be something else or something new I can look into, right? Whatever. But I have noticed that most people just don't seem to do that. So it's probably worth a 15-20 minute lunch and learn on some of the key aspects. And like, I think that the fact that you can add these different views here based on file type or location or something like that, or talking about how to do, or I don't know, it's probably some sort of AI tool in the background looking at the wording that you're using in an email and saying make a task. Now, granted, these are the exact same ones you would see in that Microsoft Viva Insights daily update briefer.
Sure, but a lot of people really hate you getting those emails. I like
right.
it.
Well, now you don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of stuff, like the quick access view and the recommended actions, but the quick access view in particular, I mentioned I love it, but that falls into, back when I did technology and collaboration training, I used to call them my small dumb things. Mm-hmm. And so like during lunch, I would do like a live broadcast, and it was called Sean's small dumb things. And it was just small, interesting little things that helped improve the experience of using some digital product.
That's a great brand though.
Small dumb things. Yeah. The problem was that product teams would catch wind of it every now and again, and they would be like, what the hell?
I see. Well, who cares about them?
It's in term of endearment. Maybe now that I'm a little more visible, people will understand.
Curious what this shows here. Yeah, I guess I just really wish, the fact that I have 4 drop downs here, I really wish I could pick and like choose, because like I want to show all Excel and all Word files. It's one or the other, right? Like that's kind of annoying. And I feel like that's an easy one that they could have just included, and like that's not difficult.
Yeah, because you have those 4 lined up on the right, and then on the furthest right you have go or save or something like that. Yeah, come on, this is Office Hub feedback.
Yes, right.
Somebody send this to them.
Formal, right? So
right on. Well, thanks for taking us through that. I honestly would not have bothered to check office.com until like Wednesday to see if I had it.
Yeah, like I said, I think I had this before Christmas in the demo tenant, believe it or not.
So we're going a little long, but I wanted to pull at least one question from our live chat here. Ross had a question here. Hey, Ross. So first we had Microsoft Viva. Now privacy management is Priva. What's next for this odd rebranding exercise? Now, full disclosure, I did not know Microsoft Priva existed.
I'm Googling it now.
I had never heard that name before until now. Matt, had you?
No. Priva Online. Access the public website of Priva BV.
I'm dropping it into the live chat here. It's a Microsoft security blog from November 2nd of last year, and absolutely buried in it, just before the Protection Everywhere section, is a paragraph that says, last month we announced privacy management for Microsoft 365 to help our customers proactively identify and prevent privacy risks, manage subject rights, requests at scale, and empower employees to make smart data handling decisions. Today, we're excited to announce Microsoft Priva with privacy management for Microsoft 365 as the first Priva solution. How did this slip by us?
Don't know. I mean, admittedly, I don't pay a ton of attention to security compliance.
Come on. This was just a piñata waiting to be hit. Nobody said anything in our sphere.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about this.
So, Ross, great question. Thank you for bringing it up and bringing this to our attention, for that matter. Because if I'm reading the way this is framed, it strikes me that Priva is being positioned as an umbrella in the same way that Viva is.
Yeah.
So more to come. We're going to look into this and hopefully have some at least more thoughts than that exists.
I can't wait for this to just be a rebranding and repackaging of like, the new rebranded Microsoft Defender XYZ things put together.
How funny
in there.
would that be?
Uh,
Honestly, never say never. That does remind me that there's still a as yet unnamed fifth pillar of Viva.
Yeah, Jared teased that he can't
Jared
do that.
teased
It's not
acquired
nice, Jared.
Come on, Jared. So, Ross, thanks for bringing that to our attention. And of course, to all of you listening at home or wherever you happen to be, send stuff our way. If there's
definitely
something you found that you want us to talk about, like throw it our way. If we hear it enough times, we're more than happy to tackle it.
Yeah,
you can just shout at us on Twitter, drop it in the comments here on YouTube or Vimeo if this has been stripped and reposted for ad revenue somewhere. But that's all I've got. Matt, anything else from you?
No, I think I'm good too. So I think that pretty much about does it. So I would say thank you so much for watching. And as always, a like and a subscribe, much appreciated. Leave a comment below to continue discussion. And if you'd like to take part live, we try to do these around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays. And you can join us live or you can drop comments when you watch afterwards. Feel free to share with your friends, colleagues, peers, so you don't have to go through this yourself. Just make them watch and they can get the news updates from here. And Sean, thanks so much for joining me this week and can't wait to hang out with you and everyone else again next week.
Thanks, Matt.